Here we are again. It is a beautiful summer day on the Franklin Rail Trail. I'm going to show you the trail now. Beautiful day. I'm editing some stories, getting them ready to put up, some one-episode stories. And it occurred to me you might find it interesting or entertaining to know my theory of story and what I do and don't do. You could start with, sort of the rating of stories. I'm going to keep all the stories PG, not PG-13, but PG. I might say that a character swears, but I'm not going to actually put the swears in there. And some people might do some things like make love and such, but I'm not going to do blow-by-blow descriptions. There will be no flowery language referring to male genitalia as swords or female genitalia as flowers, for example. Nothing so silly or coarse. And I try to tell stories. How do I come up with stories? Well, if I asked you who you were, you would almost invariably tell me a story. You might start with what you're doing now and go backward to your birth, if you remember that. Or you might start where you grew up and then end with where you were now. If I asked you why you did something, you would tell me a story, most likely. If I asked you why you don't do something anymore, you'd tell me why, which would most likely be a story. We are the sum of our experience, and each experience is a story. So when I'm writing stories, or correct that, when I think at all, I think in terms of story. It makes life a little more exciting. You are in a story right now. You're a human being having an experience. You're in a story. Are you the hero? Protagonist? Antagonist? Are you the author of it all? The center of your own universe? Or are you a minor character? It's totally up to you. So that makes, when I think of things like that, that makes everything more enjoyable and gives you a sense of responsibility for your own actions. And we should all be responsible for our own actions, I believe, being a Stoic New Englander. So, you're in a story, you're the author of your story, and perhaps you're going to make up stories. Well, to segue into writing, I write what I know, and I know what I don't know, which is a kind of wisdom all in and unto itself. There are plenty of people out there that don't know they don't know. So I write what I know, my own personal experience. I might create places or put places in different places and change names, but there are places I've been, there are things I've experienced, they're just twisted and gussied up a little bit, and they're twisted and gussied up with details from other places and other experiences. So there are things I don't know about. So you won't find a lot of horsemanship in my writing, because I've never really ridden a horse that much, and you won't find descriptions of sailing ships or how they run, because I was never a sailor. But you would find stuff like basements and maybe some air conditioning, because that's what I do for a living. And you will find bits and pieces or chimeras of people that I've met, because I'm a person and I live in a society, and I meet lots of people, and that's where I come up with characters a lot of times. I will not directly copy a character and use them, a person, that character, by name, because I don't want to embarrass anybody or get into any legal problems. So, the process for me is reading and writing. I read a lot. I pay attention a lot when I'm out in the world and I meet new people. So be careful, you might end up, or part of you might end up in a book or a story. And that all goes sort of into your subconscious, big bucket. You get stirred around. And then you sort of reach into that bucket, this gooey mass of experiences. And you come up with a what-if question, or a scene appears in your head. And you have to let yourself go, and you sort of puke it up on the page. Just blah, it all comes out. The scene, or a character, or something like that. And then, from the mess, you pick out the bits of carrot, oh, those are good, and things like that from the vomit, and you put them in a logical sequence of events, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then you have a story. Sorry, there was a tree frog on the trail here. Anyway, so, yeah, that's how I write. So you have to be undisciplined and cerebral enough to let yourself daydream, and then non-judgmental and just let it all out onto the page. And then you have to be regimented enough to know the rules of grammar and spelling and of storytelling, and edit it. So it's puke, edit, you know, rinse and repeat. And that's how you come up with a story. Now, you've been very good, and you've waited a very long time while I walk here on the rail trail. So let me tell you a couple of stories. Things that have happened to me when I was younger, shaped my experience. My father, who's a great guy, is a blend of Brezhnev and Benny Hill, both in appearance and in actions. If you got into a squirt gun fight with my father, he'd come back with a bucket several days later while you slept, and he would get you. At home, he was a funny guy, especially after a drink, and I know it's politically incorrect, but if my father had drunk more, I would have had a happier childhood, because at work, he was in purchasing, and he was very uptight, and contracts, and multi-million-dollar stuff going on, very stressed out. After a drink or two, his whole face would glow. That happens with everyone in the family. And he was a goofy, silly, happy guy when he was a bit tipsy. And he went to great lengths to teach us children that life is not fair. We were at a baseball game, and we went to go get food, and being, younger children are very picky, so we would, have this pretty detailed order of what we wanted, even though it was just hot dogs and hamburgers and such. And we get back to where we're seated, and it isn't quite what we wanted. We start getting into it, and have some complaints. And my dad says, well, of course you don't get exactly what you want. That's why they call it a concession stand. That's just one example. So, thank you for coming on a walk with me today. I will be getting some single episode stories up very soon. And if you have any questions or comments or requests, please send them right along. If you found this entertaining, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you soon. Hang in there.